And then there are challenges that we face as the human race that are common to us all, common across countries, across continents, across the globe. Challenges that spell basic life need for way too many. Challenges like food, shelter, security, education. Overcoming these challenges are now global goals, collectively called the Sustainable Development Goals. 17 goals that have been put together by the United Nations to transform our world by 2030. 17 goals that are in place by the United Nations for the people, planet, and prosperity for all. Let's quickly take a look at the 17 goals. So if you spend a second even to take a look at these goals, you'll see that these are basically everything that we need in order to move forward as one world instead of nations. Because we might think that this is what the world looks like. But in reality, this is what the world looks like. And I'd like to focus on 3 of the Sustainable Development Goals today to give you an idea of the 3 basic goals that we need to achieve in order to successfully achieve the other goals. Quality education. And by quality education, I don't mean a Harvard degree. By quality education, I mean access to basic primary and secondary education for all. We live in a world where so much of what we do depends on our knowledge to know reading and writing, that it is impossible for us to achieve any kind of equality in social and economic parameters without every child having access to basic primary and secondary education. Second is responsible consumption. We live in a tricky country, a country where there is such an imbalance of a mix of the haves and the have-nots. Millions in our country don't have access to food, not a square meal, no clean water, education, good health, shelter. And then there is a sizable population that are completely unaffected by these problems. And I think I can safely say that all of us in this room are in the second category. We have enough food, so much that we throw away a lot of it when we just don't feel like eating it. Electricity is not a problem for us. We leave the AC running, we leave the fan running because we like the air to be flowing in the room, even when we're not in the room. We have hot and cold water, and some of us love the ring of flowing water so much that we keep it on while we are brushing. It sounds familiar, I know, because I was one of them a few years ago. I'd like to share a few facts that I think might change the way you look at water, or I hope it changes the way you look at water as a natural resource, a finite natural resource. According to Asia Development Bank, India is about to face a 50% deficit in water by 2030. Here's the more terrifying fact. The city of Cape Town is officially counting days to day 0, which is the day the city will run out of drinking water. When day 0 arrives, a Cape Town resident will turn on their tap and nothing will come out. At that point, residents have to stand in queue to get their 25 liters a day of rationed water. This is a reality. This is a reality we're heading to very fast. Here's the more terrifying fact. According to a BBC report, Bangalore was second in the list of cities that are quickly running out of water, second after Sao Paulo in Brazil. Sao Paulo has climatic reasons for this. Bangalore's reason is entirely man-made because of waste, because of irresponsible consumption, and a general lack of infrastructure and innovation around water conservation. If this doesn't jolt you to action and make you rethink your approach towards how you think about water and its consumption in a more responsible way, I don't know what will. The third sustainable development goal that I think is absolutely essential and crucial, and it's a shame that it even has to become a sustainable development goal in the world we live in, is gender equality. And I don't mean gender equality in a way where women are awesome, women are special, women are all good things in the world. No. I mean gender equality that in a way where girls and boys have equal access to education, food, shelter, equal access to life, for crying out loud. Because sure, we've made some progress as a society, but the fact of the matter is we still live in a country where Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao, which translates to save the girl child, educate the girl child, is still a mandatory public service announcement, and thank God it is. But we need to realize that, emotions aside, from a logical standpoint, evolutionarily speaking, if mankind was supposed to evolve without women, women would not also be the very source of life giving birth to next generations. It would be a tremendous design flaw evolutionary, don't you think? So let's stop acting like gender equality is a cause. It's not. It's how nature intended us to be. Let's start acting like gender equality is a fact. Because it is. Men and women, we're not different. We're not different species. We're just anatomically different variations of the human species. And it's about time we start acting like it and embrace our differences. Because it might sound cute that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, but the reality is men and women are born to cohabitate on Earth together. Women taking self-defense lessons to guard themselves against men is an unnatural predator-prey scenario that we've come to live in. And why are men okay with it? Why are men okay with creating this world? Gender equality is a law of nature. Gender roles were put in place by society, a society that is starkly different from the one we live in now. A society that may have needed gender roles at one point, but not anymore. So let's start embracing our differences as two genders and move forward collectively as a society and not just as a gender. And even from just an socioeconomic standpoint, unless India and the global population stops underutilizing 50% of its population, we will not only never achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, we are never going to achieve our potential as human beings. Now, these are just 3 of the 17 goals that I think are extremely central to the other SDGs. 17 goals that are our only hope that some nations will not perish while others move forward. 17 goals that are our only hope that India and its population can think beyond having to worry about thousands of kids never seeing their 5th birthday, or millions of kids and adults not having access to basic life needs. Because for as long as India has to battle and its population has to battle these basic life needs, India will never make it on the map as a powerhouse of innovation, let alone being a superpower. Nuclear power does not make you a superpower. Harnessing the potential of your population in its entirety and creating opportunities for your population and the world, that's what makes you a sustainable superpower. Speaking of potential, the very encouraging fact is that India is supposed to have the world's largest population of youth by 2020. Can you imagine the amount of human potential we as a country will hold at that point in time? Can you imagine if we harness that potential the right way, what we could achieve for India and the world? current generation in its 50s that is right now in China is the generation that had uplifted China from a poverty to a middle income status. The current generation in India in its 20s today is going to have to do that for India if India needs to get anywhere. So not too long ago, I came across an article that said India's youth are the world's future, and I was very excited. And then I read the subtext that said whether that's a good thing or a bad thing that remains to be seen. And I kind of went, what, WTF? That would never be the subtext if it said America's youth are the world's future. And so after doing a little bit of research, I came across another interview by Bill Gates, where he assertively stated that the world will never achieve the Sustainable Development Goals without India coming through. So I started thinking and I realized that the only difference between Indian youth and America or the Western youth is their exposure to international problems and global issues. That's it. So I started an organization called OES India, which stands for Organization for Youth Engagement and Sustainability. The goal of our organization is to educate Indian youth in the Sustainable Development Goals and their role in it, and engage them in sustainability projects on the ground at the local level through a think globally but act locally approach. And one of the projects that we're currently working on, because Kolkata has as a lot of cities in India, has a huge population of hungry kids especially that you often encounter in the streets, is the Ending Hunger Project, SDG 2. How we're doing that is we are partnering with a national, the largest food delivery app. I'm not allowed to say the name, but I'm sure you guys can guess. Which is an awesome company because they've pledged to end hunger and pledged to donate all of their cancelled orders, which is a sizable amount, to OES India, so that we can now engage our volunteers on the ground, volunteers like IZ volunteers, on the ground to redistribute that food to feed hundreds of hungry people in Kolkata. Now, I know it doesn't really address hunger and address food consumption at its source, but in a resource-constrained society like India, redistributing resources is actually a sustainable way of addressing basic life needs like hunger. And it was a very proud moment for me. Our youngest volunteer is 8 years old, who also happens to be my nephew. So I was having a very quick conversation with him because I've been very busy with OES India lately, and he had many questions for me. And I basically was telling him what OES India is, and he went to the website and he looked at a few of the pictures, had a few questions, and after a short 7-minute conversation, he just kind of wandered off like an 8-year-old does. 2 days later, I get this message from the OES India website, which is something I get in my inbox. And I don't know if you can read it. It says, "Hi, I want to help other kids and give them my book so that they can read. I want to give them food. I promise I will never waste food. I want to be kind to babies and give them good health." And I'm not sharing this to show off that I have an awesome nephew, which is also a fact. But so that we can recreate this, so that other people can also talk to their kids and nephews, and that he is not the only 8-year-old volunteer we have. And that is the beauty of youth, because he did not need any numbers, no statistics, nothing. He just saw the faces of the kids on the OES India site and just walked up and knew that he could make a difference. So at that level, I think awareness does have a huge role to play. And of course, SDG awareness does create responsible consumption. Because I don't think people are inherently irresponsible or bad or don't, care. I just think people are blissfully unaware. But here's the thing. We cannot afford to be blissfully unaware anymore. We can be unaware, but the bliss is quickly running out. In India, it's about time we step up and take ownership of our share of world problems. Why? Because India is a huge portion of the globe. We contribute 17% the world's population. We contribute more than our fair share to the world's statistics of disease, hunger, gender equality, air pollution. So why would India as a country not also step up and take ownership and contribute towards solving some of these major global problems? And what is India? Besides 1.3 billion of us, but it is up to us as citizens, as Indian citizens, as global citizens, to take ownership of our share of problems in the world. We need to take responsibility of that fact. It's about time. We need to innovate around sustainability. In one of my favorite interviews of Bill Gates, he takes a glass of poop water, what he calls poop water, which is literally just, he takes it out of the sewage water, and he pours it through a low-cost filter, and that now becomes water that is completely fit for drinking, and he drinks it on national television. That is the kind of innovation around sustainability that we need. That is the kind of thinking we need in India, from you, from everybody in India. We live in such an interesting time, an inflection point, where everything we do can literally change the course of the human race, can have an effect on the future of this planet. Never before have we faced global problems of this magnitude and complexity. But never before have we as human beings been more powerful and more capable of also solving these problems. So let's show the world the power of 1 billion yeses.